Hello, my name is Carlos Torres Gastelou, and I will present to you perception of use towards free technological tools in teaching. Well, let me explain you a little about the nature of this document. In Mexico, we are very worried in order to improve our national educational system, especially on primary and secondary levels. So, for this reason, the Mexican government has promoted a national plan of evaluation and training of teachers at primary and secondary level. And similarly, teachers of these levels have searched alternative additional training to enable them develop their generic competences. So the purpose of this study is determine the perception of master students towards free technological tools according to their use, consideration or future use, applicability, interest, and prior knowledge. Let's make a quick review about methodology. I'm talking about the quantitative study. The selection criteria of the sample was a subject called ICT as mediators of learning processes, belonging to the Master of Education from the Universidad Simón Bolívar in the city of Veracruz, Mexico. 19 master students participated in classroom mode. 16 were females and 3 were male. Throughout the course were taught to master students 5 free technological tools selected in relation to the needs and the content that should cover the course. And for their perception was applied a survey that analyzed various dimensions of a study. Well, the Likert scale was used in the instrument with the following categories: totally disagree, neutral or indecisive attitude, agree, and totally agree. The positive attitude of master students represent the sum of the responses selected by each statement of the categories totally agree and agree, while the negative attitude of master students was obtained by the sum of the responses by each statement that selected disagree and totally disagree. For processing data, the SPSS software was used, and I will present you some results using descriptive statistics. Well, here we can see the 5 free technological tools selected. For instance, GDocs or Google Docs, Blogger, Dropbox, Google Scholar, and EducaPlay. Maybe the less known tool could be EducaPlay. So let's make a quick review about this one. EducaPlay is a web platform that enables the development of teaching material using tests, images, and audio. Here we can create educational activities that works online, but also in offline mode. So it's very useful in order to use for education. Now, let's make a quick review about the results. I will present you by dimension. The first dimension is use of tools. Here we can see that 3 statements belong to this dimension. Ease of use of the tool applied in collaborative work. I think there is enough information available on the internet for the proper use of the tools, and the tools are totally friendly. As we can see, we found a positive attitude with values upstairs of 80%. And of course, the total frequency of this dimension is also a positive attitude. If we check the percentage by each tool, we will notice that the highest rated tool was GDocs with 18.6%. So we will be checking how it worked for each dimension. The second dimension is consideration or future use. Take 3 different statements. I think that would be helpful to use the tool in my work as teacher in the future. I consider important to implement the tool to improve my performance and that of my colleagues in the workplace. And I consider applying the tool in my work as a teacher in the future. Again, we found a positive attitude with an average of 92 values and so on. If we make a quick review about the percentage by each tool, we will check that the positive attitude, the best rated tool was for EducaPlay. EducaPlay could be considered the most important or interest tool to use in the future use for these teachers. What about the dimension applicability? Well, here we find something, we couldn't find a nice tendency because the first statement, I think this technological tool is difficult to implement in the educational context. Well, almost half of the students said it could be difficult. Almost 4 of 10 said that it's not so difficult. But if we check the second statement for I believe that applying new technology tools is important in educational teaching, we will find a very clear tendency with a positive attitude represented by 91.6%. Well, when we check the results by each tool, we will see that the best rated tool was again for EducaPlay with 13.68%. Let's make a quick review about dimension interests. Here, I consider 3 different statements. And the first one is I would like to learn more about the tool. The second, I consider important to seek more information, for instance, tutorials, internet videos, forums, to learn more about the tool. And the third one, learning to use the tool, it provoked in me a great interest to learn more about the tool. Well, here again, we found a positive attitude with very good values. And if we review the results by each tool, we will notice definitely that EducaPlay is the best tool they could consider in the way that they would really want to learn more about it. And maybe the second one is Blogger. Well, when we just check the next dimension, prior knowledge, we will find very positive results. It's not so clear tendency here. For instance, when we ask, I had previously used the tool, almost half of the students, they say they really didn't know nothing about the tool. But at least 30% say they have some idea about it. For the second statement, I was aware of the existence of these tools. Again, almost 60% of the students say they really don't have a clear knowledge about it. But 2 of 10, they say they could have some knowledge. And again, for the third statement, I know tools that perform similar functions. Almost half of the students say that they don't have a very clear idea. They don't know any similar tool. But 32% say that they really know similar tools. Well, now, if we check the previous knowledge for each tool, we will find that the negative attitude it's more represented. So it means they really don't have any previous knowledge about all these tools, but especially the less known tool was EducaPlay. Well, now let's make some conclusions. First, master students show a positive attitude towards the use of free technological tools. It emphasizes a greater preference for GDocs tools because promotes collaborative work inside and outside the classroom. The less chosen tool was Google Scholar, which indicates the need to encourage online academic research both teachers and students. Referring to the consideration for future use of these free technological tools, master students recognize that all tools can be useful. Again, it was found a lower degree of acceptance in the future use in teacher of the tool Google Scholar. Master students do not discern that the engine Google should be replaced by Google Scholar when so required. Therefore, it could be desirable to develop of school activities that promote research competence in students. Regarding the perceptions of master students on the applicability of free technological tools in the educational context, they state that it may be difficult to incorporate them in their daily work, which contrasts with the positive attitude toward its use, because they are convinced but not find it easy due to their gaps in their technology or teaching skills. In relation to the preference of master students towards a particular tool for your application, Educa played out as the most heavily weighted stock, possibly by allowing the creation of learning activities. The next two better positioned tools were Blogger and Dropbox. Referring to the interest of master students to learn more about these tools, similar preferences were also obtained. However, there was a general consensus to place EducaPlay as the preferred tool. Most master students admitted they have no previous knowledge of the free technological tool used in the course. It reflects an opportunity to encourage training of teachers at primary and secondary level in Mexico, not only in terms of use of technology, but especially in the ways these tools could be exploited in the design of educational activities. Well, thank you very much for your attention.